So your teenage child has been diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, and I wonder if your parenting style has changed rather drastically, either for both of you if you're in a two-parent household, or you two are having conflict because of different parenting styles. For instance, one is being overly softy or good cop, while the other parent is being overly strict like a bad cop. So the question is, what is correct, and then how are you going to parent your child who is struggling with FND? Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Dr. Lee, pediatric health psychologist and teen FND specialist. I have helped hundreds of teens and their parents successfully resolve FND, like literally to the T, so then teens got their lives back while you, parents, got their child back. So today's video is really about parenting teens with FND. So let's dive in. So once again, I'm going to start with this. What is FND? FND is an umbrella term to describe these cross-wired problems between the brain and the body when your child's brain and the body physiologically and structurally are quote-unquote okay. It is a real diagnosis. Your child is not making things up. It's not just one thing that is causing the problem. It is a biopsychosocial phenomenon. So it's not just stress or anxiety. It is a very common diagnosis you would get in neurology, even though nobody seems to know about it. I would bet you, including you, until your child was diagnosed with FND. So let's dive in. Typical parenting styles. And I would say, broadly speaking, there are 4 different parenting styles: aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. These are pretty commonly known parenting styles, so there's nothing new, but I'm just going to kind of go over what each category of the parenting style is and how it changes over time with your teenage being diagnosed and struggling with FND. So let's go through one by one. So the first one, aggressive, I'm just looking at the cheat sheet here. So the first one, aggressive communication style, is it's a direct communication to literally express power from the parents to the child. So it creates this natural hierarchy of the parent being, I'm over here, while child, you're down here, kind of thing. And sometimes, and most likely, it can be coercive, either verbally or physically or emotionally. And from the recipient's perspective, sometimes kids might be feeling that their parents are being quote unquote aggressive. And sometimes it can be accidental, but parents can lash out, emotionally expressive. And the goal is for these parents to force or make them to follow their orders. And therefore, sometimes aggressive parenting style can be considered a coercive parenting style. Now, passive parenting style is a second type of parenting style, and it is really about don't speak up, withholding thoughts and opinions of the parent. So these parents tend to go with the flow to avoid conflict with others, even with their own child. And what happens is then they would follow other suggestions over their own thoughts and opinions and agenda, and while feeling like very powerless. The third category of parenting is passive aggressive parenting style. So it's a combination of aggressive and passive. What's happening is, as name indicates, indirectly communicating negative feelings, such as subtle jabs with sarcasm or silent treatment, or having some sort of body language without explicitly expressing what they're thinking. So kind of passive, but also aggressive. What's happening really is that there's a disconnect between the doing and the feeling, which results in inconsistent communication. So what that means is sometimes the parents might be starting with nice and soft and sort of good cop, and quickly escalates to this bad cop, coercive, that's it, you got to do what I tell you to do because I am your parent, kind of tone. Or vice versa. You start with really hard on your child and then easing out into this soft and cuddly parenting style. So either way, it is inconsistent. And I think you know that if you fall into this category, because at the same time, passive aggressive parenting styles, parents with this style also feel powerless. And then the fourth one is assertive. Assertive, again, it's similar to aggressive, but they're very different. They also have direct communications. However, they tend to have this clear point and expectations in a nice and calm and confident manner because their goal is to focus on the solution-oriented conversation. And what that means is there is a balance between feelings and a situation and try to respect other people even though they're communicating with their own child. Therefore, they tend to minimize conflict because they also tend to listen to the child. So the child would naturally feel like they're being heard or understood. So they feel like the communication is more like an even level instead of aggressive is the opposite. Parents over here, the child over here, and then assertive parenting when it comes to communication would be more like this. Okay, so those are the four: aggressive, passive aggressive, and assertive. And so what happens with teens who are struggling with FND? Typically speaking, I don't have a statistics scientifically proven yet. This is more like anecdotal, but most parents change or amplify their passive and or passive aggressive parenting styles. And what I do see is either parents don't agree having this good cop and bad cop because there is a mismatch of the parenting styles, or both parents are playing both bad cop and good cop sort of at the same time. So why these parents tend to change their parenting styles? Well, number one, none of the parents, including you, I bet you, have never learned how to parent your particular child in a first place. You might have a general idea about what parenting is about, mostly coming from your own parents or learning from other people, right? So that's one. And then number two, most parents, if not all parents that I have worked with, have no clue what FND was before their child was diagnosed with FND. Therefore, now they're living with the FND of their child. They don't know what to do. So they're sort of changing and trying to morph and trying to do their best, right? And again, it's really coming from a good place, good intention, very caring, dedicated parents. These are the ones that I've worked with. And essentially, these parents intuitively, they do know something has to change. However, they don't really know what and how and when and where to change. Therefore, they keep throwing spaghetti at the wall, and hopefully everything and anything they're doing to help their child is really to help their child towards a resolution of FND. So what's wrong with that, right? I mean, after all, you and all of the other parents are doing their best and then they're caring. So what's wrong? Well, there's nothing wrong with it. Once again, I am not to say what you're parenting is wrong and then this is good or this is bad. You're wrong and then this is right, kind of thing. It's really about how is it working, all right? What is the consequence of continuing to do these parenting styles for your particular child who's struggling with FND? So here are potential consequences based on the experience I had with so many families that I have worked with. And then maybe some of them would apply for you. Number one, as I mentioned a little bit, the whole idea or the problem, I guess, with this parenting strategy is either it's mismatching and or at the very least it's inconsistent parenting for the child who is struggling with FND. So what that means is whatever you're doing is not necessarily what your child is actually needing. Now, your child may not be able to tell you or articulate, no, this is exact kind of parenting I would like. No, they're not going to know that, and they might say at best, I don't know, but whatever you're doing is not working because it's so frustrating, it's annoying, and I'm so irritated, kind of thing, right? So again, going back to inconsistent and mismatching parenting, that is one consequence. Number two, your child tends to be confused. Like, okay, my mom is saying this, but my dad is saying that. Or, well, you started with nice and now it's like really harsh and oh my gosh, you're so aggressive, and then the child might also get super defensive. So again, it just does not work. Confusing child. And obviously the parenting style that you're doing is not as effective as you can imagine. And if the parents are not agreeing with the parenting styles, let's say one is playing a good cop, the other one is playing bad cop, I almost bet you that you did not have this upfront conversation explicitly between the two of you. Like, hey, I am going to play good cop, so you are going to play bad cop, or vice versa, until we figure out how to actually help our child. I bet you have not had that conversation. And not that the conversation wasn't needed, but usually what happens is because of that inconsistent or incompatible parenting between the two of you, then chances are your marital conflict might also increase because of this inconsistency and, more importantly, the lack of results in helping your child getting better from FND. Then if you don't change anything, then the obvious consequences with time, not going to get better. If not, the relationship might get worse, right? And I've seen that. And you tend to stuck in this vicious cycle and you are on this endless treadmill trying to help, but something has to change, but you don't know exactly how to do or what to do, when to do, where to do. So you continue to do the same thing or changing things around without knowing exactly what to do or if what you're doing is actually working because you don't have any guidance. So that being said, what to do? What do you need to do? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do to make things better. Number one, speaking of the communication, you and your partner as a parent absolutely need to talk with each other about your parenting styles with absolutely no judgment. This is a time to practice your assertive parenting communication style because this applies to communicating with your partner. So talk about your parenting style. Does it fit? Aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, or assertive? And whatever your partner says about you, you have to listen with no judgment which leads to you guys need to agree on the shared goal, which is to get the results of getting to the point of your child getting better from FND. All right. So the whole idea is you desperately want to help your child to resolve FND. Therefore, you two need to agree on this is the ultimate goal. In order for us to get to that goal of helping your child get better, then you guys need to work it out, right? You guys need to agree whatever it takes, you are going to work it out. So starting with the parenting styles, so just kind of get to the bottom and then build a foundation, right? And then talk to each other about matching the parenting style to be assertive, which means having clear expectations. That includes daily routine, starting with sleep and wake cycle, and what would be the general sort of rhythm and pattern of how the life is going to go for your child. Well, summer schedule might be different from fall or during the school. And also what could be the daily activities that your child would be expected to do, right? And then once you have that clear expectations that you agree on each other, then you communicate that agreement and expectation to the child that you two are united, right? So once again, you have to have a conversation and agree with each other first. And then you talk to the kid about, hey, we're going to be doing things differently and this is what's going to be happening, right? So you kind of lay out. It doesn't have to be super OCD, like diligent minute by minute schedule, but generally speaking, this is when we're going to start the day. This is what we're going to be doing and this is how we're going to be ending the day, that type of thing, right? And then in the beginning, if your child is having a hard time getting the momentum, then I always say it is okay to have either natural consequence or some sort of positive consequence. So it could be including external reward using this if-then classic behavioral approach. So if your child does something, then your child gets something as a reward, and it is okay. And I generally like to say it doesn't have to be meaning that reward does not have to be a money or a thing, but this is really the opportunity to recalibrate your child to get to the goal of resolving FND. Therefore, you need to also be able to follow through that, right? And so you need to figure out what that consequence would look like. I prefer when it comes to sort of negative consequences to be natural consequences. So whatever your child was supposed to be getting as a positive consequence, now that child is not going to get that if she or he doesn't get that result, right? And so let's just say your child is going to get extra screen time, at the end of the day for doing XYZ, getting out of bed, making bed and going to, I don't know, have a breakfast, with you guys, something like that, and then you can set the rule that, yeah, okay, you can have a extra screen time. However, if that doesn't get it done, then you guys need to be okay with not getting that reward. Even though your child might be whining and then now throwing temper tantrum or whatever that is. Again, you as a parent need to agree and then be ready. Be able to tolerate that uncomfortable potential consequences, because that means that you're showing up as a strong, sturdy leader. This is what we said to do, therefore you are following through, which means that you're actually showing up as an accountable individual and the leader. So again, ultimately the reward is for your child to get better, right? That's the internal ultimate reward, that your child is going to continue to do whatever it needs to be done, to get better. However, to get to the point, usually in my program, Teen FND Academy, I encourage family to consider some sort of external reward for the first 3 to 4 weeks until things get recalibrated. So those are the things that you can have a clear communication with matching parenting style of assertive. And then you too agree on FND diagnosis is more like a 10,000 foot aerial view of what needs to be done. Again, if one of you is okay and accepting the diagnosis of FND, but the other parent is not, then inevitably your parenting style and expectations and how to go about everything is going to continue to have this conflict, right? So you have to have the conversation, maybe even before talking about this parenting style to begin with. And then make sure once your child is getting a diagnosis of FND, then you two have a good understanding of what FND is. I have tons and tons of videos about what it is in my YouTube channel, so check them out. It is so much more important to get the diagnosis and accepting the diagnosis rather than refusing that there has got to be something else you would be chasing after this hidden diagnosis, because I talked about this recently in my channel that when it comes to FND, time is an essence. Time is your enemy. Time is against you and your child. What that means is if your child is getting diagnosis with FND, then your child absolutely needs to start the treatment or healing process pronto, like as soon as possible. The sooner you get to the point of healing journey, whatever that looks like, the prognosis, the odds of your child completely resolving the FND symptoms is very, very high. But if you continue to wait and then drawn out and just drag it out, then the chance of your child getting better, like fully functioning, getting back to their life, goes down. And then this becomes this permanent disability band camp. Now, if that is what you want and then you are completely happy with it, then by all means, keep going. But I know you are watching this video because you are a dedicated parent, you care for your child to get better, so then you can get your life back as well. And this is your child's health and well-being we're talking about here. So that being said, once you get the diagnosis, know what that FND is and then accept the diagnosis, and you've got to work with an FND specialist. It is like, you don't want to be like the blind leading the blind. You want to work with someone who knows what they're doing. Now, if you are wanting to have this dialogue and have any comments, of course, feel free to leave the comments below. I check them all the time. However, I recently created a free Facebook private group for someone like you who cares for your child who's struggling with FND, so then we can have this private conversation with me and like-minded parents, and it's completely free, and the link is down below. Now, you've got this. Talk to your partner or the other parent, or any extended family members for that matter, because this applies to a single family household as well. And talk to whoever is involved with the child's care and be able to match the parenting style, or at least communication style, with clear expectations, communications, and consequences, so that you're ready to follow through, even though it can be hard sometimes. And that recalibrating the daily functioning, trust me, is one of so many other important things that you can do towards the recovery of FND, instead of staying in this never-ending treadmill cycle, unless that's exactly what you want to do. Now, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.